Hello everyone, we're the Play channel and I'm Bruno, a host from the Crypto Herd, and today we have a special guest, Mike Rubinelli, head of Vox Studios with us. Mike Rubinelli, welcome to the Play channel. Very happy to have you here with us. How are you today?
I'm great, Bruno. Thank you for having me. Always nice to see you.
Thanks. So, Mike, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience and talk a bit about your background and role at Vox Studios?
Sure. So my name is Michael Rubinelli. I'm a longtime traditional video game industry, producer, developer, business guy. I've run a lot of different, studios throughout my career, working for Electronic Arts, THQ, Disney, Capcom, Take-Two, Midway, just to name a few.
That's impressive.
I've always kind of got into the space because it's what I love to do as a child, and that's not changed. Even to this day, I still love what I do. I love the products that I make. I love to use the products that I make, and so Wax was the opportunity to kind of come in and take on and build a play-to-earn gaming studio, and that's what I did, and that's what I do.
Oh, impressive career, Mike.
It's been a good life, no doubt about it.
So, Mike, we heard that you have like a big project coming, Blockchain Brawlers. So, I am a gamer and crypto enthusiast. Why would I play Blockchain Brawlers?
Why wouldn't you play Blockchain Brawlers? I think is a better question, because it's a great game and it's for crypto enthusiasts. So you're our target demographic on day one, Bruno, no doubt about it. Look, I think the thing that we're trying to tell the community of the players that have come in and decided to participate early in this game is that, we want to build a really compelling game first and foremost. It's a game that happens to be on the blockchain. It's not, here's a blockchain gaming game, but here's a great game and it's on the blockchain, if you understand what I mean. So the game has to be great first. It has to be really, really fun initially. Okay. That's what we're going for. There are play to earn mechanics. Certainly that is one of the kind of the value propositions that we offer. But that's not the main reason to play. We play because we're creating a world of brawlers that are bright and colorful and loaded with personality. And we've got this really interesting roadmap that's going to make it even more engaging kind of every single day that you come back to play. And so, if you've got the time and the willingness and the patience to kind of grow with us, we will deliver what we think is the best game in the space, if not on day one, on day 31 or day 61 or day 181. We're always going to get better a little bit by a little bit every single day.
Oh, now I'm hyped about it, Mike. So how is the game going to work? When I checked the website, it gave me this like SmackDown versus Raw vibe. Is it going to be something like that?
Well, yeah, look, I think the thing that you're seeing there, Bruno, is that we grew up wrestling fans and we grew up as gamers. So what does that mean in the pay to earn space? We're really mapping that experience into the kind of the current kind of environment of gaming in P2E. It's we're not opportunists who just said, hey, here's a hot trend, let's jump on it, or here's a quick way to turn a buck. That's not how we're wired at all. We wanted to kind of pay homage to our roots. And so, if you see things that look and feel like SmackDown versus Raw versus Nitro, NWA, WCW, what have you, whatever your wrestling league of choice, even like fans of La Liga, or La Luchadores, or it's sort of the Japanese pro wrestling leagues, like those are all kind of embedded into the title. That's kind of the characters that we've brought them into this world, and we've made this really kind of colorful environment to brawl in. And that's what you're going to see on day one is kind of equip a brawler, put gear in his hand or not, have a certain kind of ring, and then send them into battle and see how they do. And, over time, you will build your roster and your stable of wrestlers. You'll build your kind of the lethality or the potency of the weapons that you have. And you will continue to kind of grow and earn more things and have this huge stable of really kind of colorful characters at the end of the day that you can use to compete for really compelling things down the road.
Well, sounds like an ambitious project.
It is.
But how is it going to work exactly? Is it like I click fight and then there's like a video of my brawler fighting against other players' brawler? Or am I going to be able to control the brawler myself?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, we get that a lot because we've been really kind of we've been intentionally vague with the details because we didn't want to kind of give away too much too soon. We didn't want people to judge us on the kind of game that it was before we had a chance to show them kind of what the assets and the materials were. So this is the sort of, so let me talk to you about kind of what we're going to be on day one versus what we're going to be kind of, 3 months in and 6 months in and then a year in, because it's very much this kind of the staged rollout. So when we launch the game here in the near future, it's going to feel very similar to other games that you may or may not know, things like Farmer's World or War Space or, Alien World, what have you, where there's this whole mining cycle where you send out an asset into the world, you harvest a currency, and then you use that currency to plow back into the existing ecosystem where you're harvesting more things that allow you to mine more things. It's kind of a rinse and repeat. That's kind of this understood trope. And so that's what it is on day one. So get in and start to earn these currencies, right?
Okay, so you click and your brawler is going to fight and that's it.
There's no losing, right?
In the beginning.
Right?
Okay.
You're gonna get auto resolve. You're gonna take some damage because when you brawl, you get your health goes down, and at some point you have to heal your brawler back up. And then eventually down the road, we're going to build what we think is a super compelling, really differentiated PvP construct. Where, think about sort of where this wants to go, and what we're going to build is every single month, once PvP is live, we're going to have this huge pay-per-view style event, if you will, right? Think Royal Rumble, think Survivor Series, think WrestleMania, think kind of King of the Ring kind of things, where everything that month is themed around whatever that month theme is. And everything leads to this giant PvP competition where, again, human decision-making and the dynamic outcomes aren't tied to the ability to script something or the ability to have just highly repetitious play wins. It's something we're really sensitive to. We want the most engaged players who make the best decisions for themselves relative to their roster. We want those players to have a more positive experience than the ones that don't. And so the prizes tied to these PvP events will be really, really compelling. And that's kind of the most enjoyable way to engage. So there will feel more like a wrestling element to this. It's my character, it's my moves, it's my this, it's my that, it's my choices, opposed to just click farm, click farm, click farm, which is what it wants to be on day one. And there's nothing wrong with the click farm mechanic. But there's going to be things that surround that click farming that's going to make this feel more robust. That, I don't want to give away too much. We have a lot of surprises in store for the players on day one. The thing that you're going to hear me say a lot doesn't really matter kind of when you intersect me in the internet. Like, we are a very different team, and we think about things very differently. And we're not just saying that we want to show that. We're kind of 20 plus people on the development side and marketing side building this world. And we really think about it as a world, a sort of a metaverse, if you will, of activities that you can come in and you can do. And how that manifests in the game and what it leads you to do is really kind of interesting places that we're not quite ready to disclose yet. But if you're patient with us and you engage and you earn and you progress and you are retained, I promise you we're going to get to what feels like a very different, really super compelling game. I think it's compelling on day one for what it wants to be. It's done in a really thoughtful way. But people say, well, how much of a game is it? This is going to become more gamey the longer we are kind of in the public eye. So we're going to do a beta launch on day one with very few players. We're going to understand the economies. We're going to balance everything. We're going to tune everything. And then we're going to add all these real kind of really compelling gameplay elements to that as we go, where you can lose because you're playing another human. It's, Bruno, you bring your guys to ring, I bring my guys to ring, we make our choices. Hopefully my guys crush your guys and choke them out in the middle of the ring, and I win all the glory, and I go up the leaderboards and I have this great time. And you're like, oh man, I've got to go do this and I've got to do that, and I've got to figure out how I lost and why I lost. And then I'll go gloat on the internet and talk about how I beat Bruno, and I have a certain belt that shows that. So, there's all kinds of fun things that we have planned. So stay tuned is what I'm saying.
Okay, so in day one, it's going to be just click and brawl. But as you guys develop the game, players are going to have to take decisions, strategic decisions when it comes to brawling, right?
Yeah, and one thing to point out, Bruno, I think that's really interesting that maybe a lot of people don't know is, we have almost 31,000 people in our Discord channel, so there's a ton of interest in playing this game. But if you look at the NFTs that we've sold, which are effectively the keys to start to play on day one, we're gonna have about 1,050 in the market, and multiple NFTs are owned by individuals. So in terms of the unique players, there's probably kind of 650 to 750 kind of unique. It's not a big audience, right? And that's very intentional. The thing that we've said from the beginning is that we need the players to be our producers. Like, we could have sold a lot more, we could have made a lot more money up front, and we don't disparage the groups that do that, but because we're Wax, we don't have the same pressures that other groups have. So we're actually putting the hands of the economy building in the players. We need them to be producers. We need them to actually play, earn, craft, craft those items, they can keep them and earn even more, or, and by earning, I mean the in-game currencies and the NFTs and whatnot. Or they can take those things and put those NFTs into the secondary market. It gives access to players who didn't get that day one kind of golden ticket, so to speak, to now also play. So audience growth is driven by the players, not driven by us. Like, we're not going to sell a bunch of packs. We're not trying to get in kind of 10,000 people on day one, even though we know that we could. So we have this real interesting dynamic that we're saying to the community, our success is dependent on you. So therefore, we're going to do things that help you become successful and whatever that means to you. But we're not going to just sell and sell and sell these packs and flood the market with these things that then we lose kind of the ability to control supply and demand. So we're actually saying to the community, hey, get in there and just brawl and brawl and brawl and craft and earn and use the secondary market, use this decentralized exchanges to kind of figure out how you want to play this. But it's this really interesting kind of dynamic that we've set up where we said we're intentionally not putting a lot into the community or out into the marketplace because we want the community to put things into the marketplace.
Okay, so that's an economy driven by the players, right?
100%, yeah.
So how many brawlers were minted already, and what is going to be like the total supply of brawlers in the market? Do you guys have any idea how many NFTs in total you want to mint?
So we've pre-minted a certain number to make sure that the pre-mint kind of pack openings have the mint numbers tied to the rarities, but we actually don't know how many brawlers are going to be minted. Again, that's going to be driven by the player. So as an example, we printed, I believe, the first 500 common brawlers, but there could easily be 10,000 common brawlers if that's how the players play, right? If that's what they decide to do with the currencies that they're earning in game. And so we are wanting to make sure that we are controlling just their ability to progress at an acceptable rate. We're actually not controlling how many they craft or how many they sell or how many they buy. That's completely up to them. And we're also not involved in the pricing of those things. The market will set the pricing. So therefore, there's this whole interesting arbitrage exercise between, do I want to craft this and sell or do I want to craft it and use it? And we have no control over that. That's completely up to the players.
Okay. So
hey, how many NFTs? I'm like, I don't know. Ask the community. It's up to them. So
okay. So do you want to comment on the economy, exactly how it's going to work? So me as a player, I'm going to be able to play, get resources, and with those resources, I'm going to be able to craft my own brawlers, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Bruno, one interesting thing that we did, again, is so I tell you that we're a different team and we think about things differently. And one real clear example of that is to craft any item in the game requires two resources. One's Brawl, which is our token. Okay. And you earn the Brawl token by brawling. And then there is an NFT called gold. And so in the recipe for crafting, there's a brawl amount and there's a gold NFT amount. Now, the legendary brawlers that we've sold in our auctions, what we call our one of wonder, our founder editions, they make a lot of brawl and they're really, really powerful. But here's the flip. They make no gold. They make no gold at all. I shouldn't say gold. That's going too far. They make less gold than the common brawler makes. So the common brawler, which a lot of people have, actually controls one of the two resources needed to craft. And so in typical games like, a common asset isn't that powerful. I've got to get to uncommon so I can get to rare, so I can get to epic, so I can get to legendary. Like, that's the normal step function that most games take.
Okay.
We're actually saying if you have a common brawler, you control one of the two major resources in the game for crafting. And so we've put power in the hands of the common resource or the common NFT holder. It really is this kind of interesting paradigm shift that we've created. And we have no idea what they're going to price that gold NFT for. We have no idea how liquid that's going to be because, maybe they want to buy themselves. There's just all these things that we actually don't know. But what we've done is we've created this paradigm where there's tension between two ends of the market. And we think that's really different and really powerful. So initially it was kind of funny. I was online, monitoring the Discord chats and all these people who are opening their packs and getting the common asset. Like, oh, I'm so bummed. I got just the common asset. I'm like, well, why are you bummed? They're like, because it's the common, so therefore it's going to suck, right? I'm like, people are so prone to thinking that the common means the worst. In reality, we took the common, we made it one of the best parts of the game, which was so different. And people are like, oh my God, this is incredible, and I didn't think this was going to happen, and thank you. Like, again, that's an example of how we think about things differently.
Okay, so the legendary brawlers are going to be able to get more BRWL, which is your token,
Which is our token,
but
right?
common brawlers are going to be able to get more gold. Is that
Yeah,
it?
the NFT, that's correct.
Okay, about BRWL.
Brawl, right.
Does it have like a limited supply or?
People ask us all the time about, what is the cap going to be? And I know that's a common question to ask. And I will tell you as Wax, we're not really concerned with the cap.
Okay.
That'll be known on the day that we launch. The thing that we tell people to focus on, that we focus on, is trying to find that equilibrium in the market of the token into the market versus the token coming out of the market. And so we look at these deflationary measures to make sure there's parity. And that the question is do we have a high enough cap that we can measure and monitor that path towards that equilibrium? And I assure you that we can. Token cap will not be a concern for this game at all. The thing that, I always tell people to pay attention to, or the question I tell them to ask me, is how are we doing at progressing towards finding that equilibrium, striking that balance between, again, kind of supply and demand, whether it's supply and demand for the NFTs, supply and demand for the token, the Brawl token, what have you. One thing also that we've done that's really, really super interesting, Bruno, that not a lot of other games have done, is we actually have a limit of use on the NFTs that you can craft. Like, so if you think about Farmer's World and they have Stone Axe, or they have, these things that are just craftable and they're permanent, like they never go away. The things that we craft in our game actually have a shelf life. Like, there's only a certain number of uses, and then you can no longer use them anymore. They're burned and they're gone forever, and you can't sell them. You can't repurpose them. You can't do anything. They will disappear from your inventory after their use has been kind of
okay.
done.
Okay. They have a time life.
Yeah.
So that makes players having to craft that gear all the time, right?
All the time.
So that creates demand for the game tokens, right?
It creates a nice sink for the currency.
Okay, that's a nice idea,
yeah. Yeah. So if you think about it, again, we think about things very differently, and we're not afraid to try things in the name of learning. And so if you look at kind of the other games that Wax is building that haven't been announced yet, it's all like, what are we trying to learn about this game? And every feature we put in every game, what are we trying to learn with this feature? It's always about testing and learning and testing and learning. And so, we think kind of non-durable goods that have a shelf life that are craftable is a really powerful idea. And so you're not going to see, hopefully, the secondary market flooded with these things at 68 cents a piece because there's 100,000 of them and nobody needs them.
I think that makes sense. Maybe one of the mistakes that other games did, like X Infinity, I think, was like, okay, you have 3 NFTs and they're going to last forever, so you're not going to need to buy more of those NFTs like ever. Okay,
right.
So that makes like the economy become like completely dependent on player growth.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Like there's lots of games. I think the majority of play-to-earn games, they have their economies completely sustained on new players coming in. Okay, and I think that's smart. Like, now player must like craft lots of NFTs or items in order to keep playing, right?
Yeah, of course. And we're always going to find a use for if the inventory of something gets too full, even if it's our brawlers, which actually brawlers can live forever. We'll find a use for the brawlers in the game. So it incentivizes you to craft as many brawlers as you can. Even though you can only brawl with 8 at one time, there are ways and features and functionalities that we're going to build that says, okay, you have 50 brawlers. Okay, this is how they work in the game. This is how they benefit you. So providing that kind of understanding of where this fits into your growth curve is something that's really important to us. We have all kinds of great ideas on how to make sure that, if you have kind of 20 brawlers, 50 brawlers, 100 brawlers, that you're better positioned than the person who has 2. So making those things clear and obvious and understood is something that's really important to us.
Okay, so we already know that brawlers have different rarities, and so the common brawlers produce more gold, the legendary brawlers produce more brawl. But when it comes to the gameplay, does like the legendary brawler has any advantage when it comes like to fighting in comparison with the common brawler?
So when we get into the PvP side, there will be value, right, in the higher rarities, right? They will by default have an advantage, and we haven't said what those advantages are yet, but know that a legendary brawler is legendary for a reason. So you can't just have a common brawler fight a legendary and it's a coin flip and it's 50-50 either way. The nice thing is, though, is that, if you look at other games, I think a really good one that comes to mind is if you look at Clash Royale. And, right now, kind of the level cap on the crown tower is 14. But a lot of times, if you're a good enough player, a level 11 or a level 12 can give a level 14 a match. And sometimes, a lot of times, level 13 can beat a level 14. So what we're saying is we don't want it to be a fait accompli, like a legendary will never, ever, 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 ever lose to anybody lower than them. It's possible, but it takes a combination of things happening, right? Like you have to be skilled in your strategy and in your execution. All these things have to break, right? It's a possibility, but it's not a foregone conclusion that a legendary will beat a non-legendary. But it will happen. But again, if it does happen, it's because of the choices that the player made, not necessarily the code is just programmed. Okay. You always win or you always lose. Putting interesting gameplay choices in the hands of the player, strategic choices in the hands of the player, relative to the tools that they're bringing into the fight, like that's where it gets really interesting, and we'll set it up so players can have choices, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So your choices as a player are going to have a higher impact on your chances of winning, yes, other than the rarity of your brawler.
Yes, although the rarity of your brawler helps you. Let's be clear.
Also helps you, gives you an advantage.
The rarity of the brawler absolutely helps you, but you can't just roll in and think I'm going to steamroll everybody just because I paid to win. This is not pay to win. It gives you an advantage. It's pay to have an advantage, if you will. It is not pay to win.
So you guys are like selling brawlers in Wax and also on BNB chain, right? Mm-hmm. That's why you're building a bridge, I guess. Mm-hmm. So why BNB and not like Polygon or Solana? Why this choice?
Well, we're friends with Binance. So CZ, who runs Binance, used to work with us. He's one of our former coworkers, and we admire what he's done and what he's all about. Also, Binance is the largest chain in the world in terms of DAU. Now, a lot of it is kind of DeFi transactions, it's not gaming per se, but we like them. We have a great, healthy respect for what they've done. And again, we wanted to test out a bridge to see how this worked, to understand the functionality. And we released those brawlers again to show the world kind of how much kind of Binance meant to us. We released that initial auction on Binance first, not on Wax first, and so that's what you've seen kind of us do today. And it's been really successful. The reception that we've gotten from the Binance audience, whether it's in AMAs or it's just the actual response of how the sales performed, is kind of well beyond what we ever thought it would be. And it just kind of validates the choice that we made was the right one. And we'll continue to, work with Binance on things that help increase NFT liquidity, which was always the goal for us. Is we want to make sure that if you hold an NFT that works on Wax, that you can sell it in as many marketplaces as humanly possible. So now, not only do you get all the Wax marketplaces, which I think there's 12 or 13, which are fairly active, now you can bridge that over to Binance and take advantage of the marketplaces tied in with Binance. And so max NFT liquidity is always a goal for us. So look for us to continue to do things that increase the liquidity of our assets, or the possibility of liquidity of our assets.
So would you consider expanding to other networks? Or are you guys thinking about just staying with BNB chain and Wax?
I would say never on expansion, but it has to be like, we're not going to expand just for the sake of expanding, right? It has to be done for what is the player benefit, what is the community benefit, what is the liquidity benefit. Those are the things that motivate us. Not like, oh, it looks good for us to do a deal with, OpenSea or Solana or Polygon or any of those other groups. Like, we're not going to do that for the PR value. We know that's a common practice. That's not a practice that we do. We say, what is the value to the end user, right? So we have this thing, Bruno, where we say, let's start at the player and work backwards to the solution, right? Like, where are they blocked? Where are they challenged? How do we take their concerns and work backwards to how we're going to engineer a solution that's best for them? And so if that involves other partners, then that's the path where we'll go. But it'll start with the player, and we'll move backwards from that.
Okay, so sounds interesting. So if from the community there's demand for you to expand for like Polygon, maybe you guys will consider it.
Yeah, of course we will. The question is, the game would never run on, we'd never have the game run on Polygon, but can the assets be sold in Polygon marketplaces or marketplace singular? It can. The problem that you have with kind of Ethereum based, markets is that it's not open like it is on Wax. Like you list an NFT for sale on Atomic, and it's on NFT and it's on all these other markets by default because that's how the asset works.
Okay.
But when you sell something on an Ethereum marketplace, it's only on that singular marketplace, and you have to hope that marketplace has enough liquidity and that the discovery is okay. Like there's just all these things that matter when you go to sell something in terms of whether you're able to sell it or not. And discovery is a big issue, onboarding is a big issue, usability in general across kind of a lot of the play to earn space is, it's not very Web 2, if you will. It's fair. It can be Web 3. It can be very challenging. And so when you list an asset for sale on an Ethereum chain or a layer 2, you're somewhat blocked or limited by what their marketplace is that they have. Whereas on Wax, there's a dozen ways plus to have your asset listed and showed up wherever players show up. So we think that's a real win for the Wax player.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So Mike, you mentioned that you own digital assets in 10 play-to-earn projects, all of them in Wax. Do you want to tell us what are your top 5 Wax play-to-earn projects and why?
The top 5 that are currently available on Wax and why?
The ones you invested in. I think I saw some interview. You mentioned that you own digital assets.
Okay. Let's be clear.
Okay.
Part of me plays as a fan and an enthusiast. That's part of it. I don't want you to look at my portfolio and go, oh, these are the top 5 games that we should all be playing. Like I played a
Of course not.
I play
always do your own research, guys.
So and I'm gonna go with a couple things not on Wax that are just because I like to tell kind of pay to earn gamers what to pay attention to, and I'm a huge Wax fan. So let's be clear, the games on Wax I think are the best and they're super exciting. There's some games not committed to chains that I am paying attention to and that I can share with you. So in terms of what am I playing now, I would say so I am playing Warspace. I'm playing Ring of Glory. Okay. I play Office Lands. I play Dragon Valley. I dabble a little in Space Heroes. I was kind of I was really into that early, so they're just getting their roadmap together and they're doing good things there. So I'm playing that a little bit, not quite as enthusiastically as the others. So those are the things that I'm kind of currently invested in terms of what am I playing. I am reading white papers and I'm in communities of everything you would expect, Voidland, Goldman Game, Coin Pirates, Green Rabbit, gosh, I could open my Discord now and kind of reel off
all the groups are in
that I'm in. There's a couple games that I really like, kind of worth paying attention to. One is Harmonia Goya, which is kind of an Animal Crossing style game that is just starting to get a little bit of traction. It's on Wax. I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. We meet with the developer on a regular basis and we're always impressed by what they're building. That's certainly one to pay attention to. A sneaky little game that's maybe not on everybody's radar is a game called The Chronicles of Dr. Zamzi. It's built by a development group here in the Bay Area, and it's kind of Clash Royale meets Tim Burton-esque art style. The artist is a guy named Matt Gaither, and he is unbelievably talented. And so when you see kind of the art style, you understand it's maybe a Clash Royale construct mapped to a play to earn space with a lot of kind of ambitious goals around, kind of 3D virtual environments and streaming, kind of linear content. Like this really big idea that they're starting to build on Wax, and it's getting some traction, some momentum. But the gameplay piece of that's a little bit out, but we're keeping our eye on that. And there's a whole bunch of other things that are going on as well in terms of kind of metaverse development that we're paying attention to. So those are the third-party titles that I am engaged with kind of on a personal and semi-professional level. So I don't know if that helps you or answers your question, but that is what I am looking at and playing.
Interesting choices. So
yeah,
actually,
I'm not a big Farmers World or Alien World person because I was kind of late to the game. And, we find that, Arena of Glory has things similar to Blockchain Brawlers, and we like Warspace. We think their production value and what they're trying to do is really super compelling, and how they're handling the economy is worth paying attention to. So lots of great learnings that are taking place. And we have tremendous respect for, kind of all the groups on Wax, but those in particular are the ones that have caught my eye.
Okay, interesting choices, Mike. So, Mike, about the Blockchain Brawlers roadmap, what are the most important dates here and why?
Well, probably the most important date is near the end of March. If you look at our calendar, there's this thing called Roadmap Update. So,
okay,
update is the update to the update. So, if you will, disclose to people kind of what the next 12 months of Brawlers looks like in terms of features and functionality, and we'll be more granular early because that's what we know, and we'll be less granular and more kind of, kind of vaporware-ish towards the end of the year because we don't know. And look, that's really intentional. The thing that we've always told people is that we will monitor and measure how players perform, and then we'll build features relative to how they perform. It'd be silly for me to tell you, Bruno, well, next January, this is going to be live because this is how the players are going to react. We actually don't know, right? So we do know what we're going to build over the next kind of 3 to 6 months. And we think there's things that we do no matter what. There's natural things we talk about like PvP, and we talk about things of that ilk, which we're very committed to. And we think PvP is going to be super compelling, and we're going to always lean into that PvP side because we understand the value of what that wants to be. But what I can't tell you is in 9 months we're going to do exactly this, right?
Okay.
So we'll talk about these things thematically, but it'll all be based on how the players engage and what appeals to them. And if things are really appealing, we'll do more of the things that appeal. If things are less appealing, then we'll stop doing those things. And it's this real kind of dynamic nature. So I don't want to not answer your question, but I wanted to couch it that, we'll be able to give you some pretty good details kind of the first half of the year, and the last half of the year is a little bit more vague for us, but it'll be informed by how the players react to what we put out there.
Okay, that's interesting. I respect that. Building the game based on the feedback that you get from the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very nice.
Yeah, of course.
Mike, last question.
Sure.
From your opinion, what does a project in the play-to-earn space must have in order to be successful?
That's a great question. The thing that I would tell you, Bruno, and congratulations, I think I've said that's a great question 17 times. So you're a wonderful, thank you for
Thanks.
That. I think the thing that, again, that we talked about earlier, and I think is so true, is that you have to make sure this game is really fun to play. Like above anything else, like it's got to be fun. It's got to be.
I agree with you.
And it's got to not be DeFi. It's got to be more GameFi, and even the Fi can be lowercase fi. Like it really has to be super compelling, right? And so, there's a game called Skyweaver, which we love, and we really have deep respect for what they built. It's a CCG.
Oh yeah, very good, very good. We did the review here in Play to Earn actually.
Yeah. Exactly. And so you wouldn't know that's play to earn if you just were to look at it and you were onboarded into it. They're onboarding, which I think there's a lot of great lessons that developers can learn from the onboarding process and the new user flow. Like that game is objectively really, really fun. It just happens to be a pay to earn game. And I would tell you that anybody building a game in the space, focus on what's fun. So if you want Wax's support, if you want to be part of the Wax publishing program, the first thing we're going to say is, tell me why your game is so compelling. Don't talk to me about your block emissions, your deflationary measures. Don't talk to me about your token cap. Don't tell me about your tokenomics report. Don't even tell me about your light paper. Tell me at your core, what is the one thing that makes your game great, right? And if you can say that and you believe in it and it's true, and then you can demonstrate it and you have a passion for building a really compelling experience that the community is going to embrace, then you're winning in our eyes. Because the thing that has to happen is the regular gaming community, we want them to embrace the wider gaming community. I will say we want them to embrace pay to earn as a construct. And I think it's absolutely going to happen. There's no doubt in my mind. That's why I'm here. I believe this with every fiber of my being. But in order to get them to come across, there has to be validity in the experience. It's a lot of the same challenges that Facebook gaming faced on early, mobile gaming faced early on. Like there had to be compelling reasons like, oh, this is more fun to do than what I'm currently doing. You have to offer a better value exchange for their time. And so that's something we talk about all the time is, is your interaction, is it validating the use of somebody not doing what they were doing to doing this instead? And when I think about, I shudder, I think about my World of Warcraft days and looking at that time in-game button, and I don't really want to click it, but it's there and I kind of want to know, but I kind of don't want to know. But it's, it's like, is it, 100 hours? Is it 40 days. Like, how long is that? And that was like this paralyzing moment. Like, you did not want to click that. But now what we're saying in the pay to earn space is if you play a game and you're having so much fun, you realize that time in game is a representation of monetizing your engagement, right? So make it really, really fun and validate the use of their time in your product through some sort of passive income. And I think the thing that people get hung up on is they think that play to earn means play to profit. And it doesn't necessarily always mean play to profit. It means play and get some sort of passive income from it. It means getting a value exchange for your time. But here's something else that's really, really powerful that I don't think a lot of people realize, that I think pay to earn gaming, you know, as a movement, if you will, it'd be better if we played up this part. And something that I always kind of pound the table on is, if you take any kind of game where you've earned and crafted and built an asset that no longer has value to you, the normal thought is, oh, I'm going to sell it on the secondary market and just kind of out of sight, out of mind. But what actually should happen, and you know, we're going to lean into is, you know, Bruno, I've been playing this game for 6 months. You just started. I don't want you to have to be on this 6-month grind. Let me help you. Let me give you this. Let me sell you this at a discount. Let me help you catch up to me faster. That actually makes me feel good about me. I'm taking another player that I have, you know, an affinity for and I have a respect for, and I want you to game with me. And I'm going to help you shorten your learning curve. I'm going to shallow out that time for you. I'm going to happily help you jump ahead, you know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, because now I'm getting you this gear that I actually have no use for. Now, the social good that comes with, you know, enabling and empowering other players to catch up and to play with you is a really, really powerful thing. You know, it's not just like this purely unemotional transaction thing. I had it, I sold it, good riddance. It's like, oh, Bruno's my friend. Bruno's now going to start to play this game with me. I'm 6 months ahead of Bruno, but if I give Bruno all this stuff, now I'm 3 weeks ahead of Bruno. And I don't care that I didn't get max profit from it or max, you know, revenue. What I did is I got a friend of mine playing this game with me, which has tremendous kind of social appeal, and its core is a really, really good thing. I'm giving back, right? And so we talk a lot about kind of finding a cause greater than yourself. If games can help you kind of, you know, make other people happy, we think that's a really, really good thing. And we're putting the power of that kind of goodwill in the hands of the player.
Okay, that's a nice attitude. And on top of that, I guess if it's like an MMORPG, for example, you're gonna get like a new partner to grind with you in the high level zones or something, you know. That's very nice.
Exactly. That's how we think about it. And we know that it's something that players want, you know. We know they absolutely want that. So, you know, why not allow that to happen? That's what we need to kind of, you know, play out more. That's one of the other benefits of kind of this free market exchange of goods and services.
Okay. So Mike, thanks for sharing your knowledge with us, and thanks for telling us more about Wax and your project, Blockchain Brawlers. Very nice to have this conversation with you.
Bruno, have me on anytime. I'm happy to speak to you. I'm happy to make myself available to answer any questions you or your fans may have.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe for more NFT gaming content. It was very nice to talk with Mr. Rubinelli here. Had lots of fun. Hope you guys also enjoyed. And thanks for watching. See you, Cryptomaniacs in the Metaverse.